Namaste everyone. Welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House. The ongoing sessions are on Bhagavad Gita offered by Bindoji from an Advaita perspective. We are on chapter 5, room number 10, class number 10. The replays of all the previous rooms are available in Clubhouse, or you can access them in 3 links shared in the chat. One is a YouTube channel, Advaita Retold. The second one is a Apple podcast, and third one is Spotify link. As a companion reader, there is a book published by Artemisia, which is based on Bindoji's insights into Advaita. But it's a good reading companion because you can open any page and start reading a section and get deep insights. And that's been published on Amazon, and the link is shared. For housekeeping, I'll close the chat and hand raising when the session is on, when Bindoji is conducting the class, after which we'll open up those channels for any follow-up discussions or questions that arise. As always, thank you, Bindoji. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and Hariom to all. My invocations. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavatyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Gita Dhyana Slokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Tunvanti Divyai Stavai Vedai Sankapadakramो Parishadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyandam na Vidussura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Oh. We are in the 14th verse which we have completed last week. Na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karma phala samyogam svabhavastu pravartate. So the svabhava is what we discussed in detail. And there is this Navadwarapure, 9 gated body, which as a simile has been given to the city, and Atma as a Prabhu, or the Lord of the, or the Master of the city. Now when he is a master and the activities of the city is happening by nature or natural process of, each aspect of the city. The traders are doing the trading, the bankers are doing the banking activity, the farmers are doing the agriculture, and all these activities are similar to the eyes seeing, the ears hearing, the touch of the sense organs and things like that. Both actions and cognition. But Atma has no role to play. He is just a presiding as a king in a city. So this Svabhavastu Pravartade, or the natural order of functioning of the body functions, is exactly what earlier Krishna has said as Guna Guneshu Vartante, Iti Matvana. That is the way in which the gunas in the Prakriti, the, you know, the sense organs are made out of guna, trigunatmika. So too are the objects of senses. And their interaction is what guna guneshu vartante. Here also, swabhavastu pravartate is indicating that it is by that prakriti, swabhava, which includes the trigunatmika, is what it is functioning. Now, when this type of a activity is going on, in the city, naturally what happens is that if agriculture is more, the king gets more revenue, etc. There are benefits and losses which are accrued to the Prabhu or the king or the lord of the city. But the simile should not be extended further to make it very clear that Krishna says the next verse, Na adatte kasyachit papam na chaivam sugrutam vibhu atnen avrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavah. So unlike in the city where the king gets benefited and demerited with the good and bad activities inside the city or surrounding the city, in the case of Vibhu and Prabhu, the words are used interchangeably here. Prabhu means the Lord, whereas Vibhu is the one which is all-pervading. His presence is all-pervading in the city to indicate that. Same way, in this city of our body, which is nine-gated, the Vibhu, the Atma, is all-pervading in the body. From the tip of the hair to the tip of the nail, everywhere we can feel the sensation or we can feel the consciousness or awareness or what we call it as the bodha. So when that is the case, when he is all pervading, anything that is happening at any corner of the body should consequently be affecting the Atma. That is the normal thought process that can come along. But Krishna wants us to understand that Atma is nirlipta, is unstained, or it is not get touched by anything that's happening in this body. It's a pure sakshi or a witness. So, na adatte kasyachit papam. The all-pervading Atma does not receive anyone's sins. Papam na adatte means receive the papam. Kasyachit means anyone's. Na cha eva sugradam. Nor indeed anyone's merit. Neither merit nor demerit is touching the Atma, or doesn't receive means doesn't stained or stain Atma. But the second line is very important, and that is always quoted by Pandits and those who are referring to Bhagavad Gita. Atnyana avrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. The words are very, very important. Atnyanena. Atnyanam means ignorance. Atnyanena means by ignorance. Avrutam means covered. What? What is covering Atnyanam? Jnanam. Tena, by that, muhyanti means deluded. Jandavaha means the living beings. Jandu is coming from the word Janma. Janma means one who is taking birth. Birth means it may not be mammals. It is any birth, mean creation. Jandavaha means those who have the intellectual capacity here, that is to include not only human beings but even animals and birds and things like that, who has the sense of apprehension. They have the knowledge of their surroundings. So when it says that Ajnanena Jnanam Avrutam, the knowledge or the cognition is covered by delusion or Ajnana. Ajnanena Muhyanti. So Muhyanti means deluded. Ajnanena means ignorance. A bit of discussion is required here. Jnanam and Ajnanam are opposite to each other. That is knowledge and ignorance. In this verse, Krishna is saying, knowledge is covered by ignorance. This aspect of knowledge being covered by ignorance has to be understood properly. Because Ajnana sometimes is called avidya also. And Jnanam is some place as mentioned as Prajnanam, Jnanam, Vidya, etc. So the word importance between these two, that Jnanam and Ajnanam, how the ignorance can cover that knowledge. And due to that, those who have capacity to know, Jandavaha, Muhyanti, gets deluded. Let us analyze the words and then come back to this statement again. Why did Krishna suddenly mention this statement? Because he was not mentioning about Jnanam till now. He was talking about Akartrutva, Abhoktrutva till now. So the first half, while continuing the discussion on Akartrutva Prakarana, we started on the 13th and 14th verse by saying that Prabhu has no implications to the domain of in the place where he is being placed. For the moral consequences of Papa and Karma, Papa and Punya, Sukruta, etc. Suddenly Krishna is shifting in the second half a turn by identifying Ajnana as the specific cause for the moha and delusion, thereby setting up that teaching of Jnana which is being followed from the 16th verse till the 21st verse. Actually, he making a conscious shift in the process or the prakarana. We will see that in detail. When he said na adatte means a statement is being made to the connection of the earlier verses. Na srujati Prabhu. He is not creating. That means he has no kartrutva, karmani, samyoga, etc. And the vibhu is said to be not creating the kartrutva, karma, etc. Therefore, he is not receiving the moral consequences of papa, sukrita, punya, etc. or the samyoga, etc. The Atman is thus insulated from the karma vyavahara of kartrutva and bhoktritva. The doubly insulated. Neither originates the mechanism nor absorbs the moral residue of it. By saying kasyachit in this statement, he is including all creation in the realm of srijati, creation, where he mentioned in the 13th verse. Na srijati, by denying or refusing the process of creation of kartrutva and bhoktritva of anyone who have been created, but their kartrutva and karma, bhoktritva is not his. Why? It is because he is vibhu. The vibhu word is one who is comprehensively or pervasively everywhere, or the all-pervading one, the omnipresent, or the nature of Atma as Sarvagata. So when he is Sarvagata, where the actions are taking place, the doer and the receiver of the action, both being under his, what you call, creation, he has no role or no authorship in the subsequent events which are happening in the created ones. Because the created ones are subsequently getting deluded by assuming they are the individual beings. Please understand this. Now, if a pot of mud or a piece of ornament has come out of gold, and that ornament now assumes the role of the ornament, forgets its intrinsic nature is that of gold, or the pot is mud, of intrinsic nature is of mud. Now, whether it is used for a lamp, for lighting, or whether it is used for storing good material or bad material, whether it is used for storing stinking material or perfumed material, the pot and the mud do not undergo any change. But if the pot thinks that now I am filled with stinking material, or the pot thinks that I am filled with perfumed material, this thinking that I am now a stinking pot or I am a perfumed pot is not due to the mud. The mud is all pervasive in both the pots. Both the places the same mud is there. then how can the mud think that I am the stinking pot, or the other mud pot think I am the perfume pot? This example is exactly what being told that Atnyane navrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jandavaha. All the jandavaha, all the created ones, is now being deluded by Atnyana, non-apprehension of their reality. What is the apprehension they should be having? That I am made of mud. The content in the mud pot, whether it's a stinking one or a perfumed one, do not touch the mud. The mud is just a holder. But if it thinks that I am now a stinking pot or a perfumed pot, the parent mud or the mud with which the pot is made has no role to play in it. This aspect of identifying with the physical body, that I am a human being, I am a fat person or a thin person, I am a fair person or a dark person, I am a good person or a bad person, all these adjectives which are of the body cannot be attributed to the consciousness which knows these things. The body is a product of consciousness. When from the deep sleep, when we woke up, the waker was projected, or when it went into the dreamer was projected. The dreamer now thinks he is a murderer, or the waker thinks he is a saint. The consciousness from which the waker came up or the dreamer came up, it has no role to play either as a doer or an enjoyer. That is why when it is mentioned that Atnyanena by avidya, anadi avidya, a beginningless self-concealing ignorance. When did it start? Nobody knows. Therefore it is called anadi. Anadi means, actually the word anadi means no beginning. Means when it started nobody knows, it is called anadi. That superimposes the appearances of the physical body, the sense organs, and their physical activities. So therefore there is a kartrutva, means a doership. There is a bhoktrutva, means a doership. And the consequences of that as papa and punya, sukrita. These things are assumed by the body, because he assumes the body as a karta. But the body by itself cannot be the karta, because the body assumes the kartrutva due to consciousness in it. When it doesn't understand that it is the consciousness with which I am knowing that I am doing the job, I am enjoying the job, both are happening because of the presence of consciousness, but not caused by the consciousness. Consciousness is mere illuminator. It is neither the cause for the body's functioning, nor is the cause for the enjoyment of the body. Therefore, Ajnana is the root cause, which is called the samsara. Avrutam means it conceals the true nature. And it has got two roles. It conceals the true nature of the consciousness, and it projects the individuality of the I am, the aham, or the ego-based individuality. So both concealing and projection, avarana and vikshepa, together is called the Ajnana. Ajnana is functioning as covering the reality and projecting the unreality, or non-apprehension of the reality and apprehension of the non-reality. When the rope is covered with that ignorance of the non-reality of the rope, the projection of the snake happens, which is the projection of the unreality. The pot, when it is concealed of its reality of mud, the pot gets projected as the reality, the shape, name and form, nama rupa. And the consequences of the activities that is happening inside the pot is assumed by as the doership and the enjoyership. So when this happens, what is getting concealed? What the real knowledge or wisdom or the nature of knowledge itself, jnana, that is getting veiled or covered, avrutam. At the Vyavaharika level, the Buddhi's capacity for viveka, discriminative knowledge, is what is called the jnana. That which is ajnanena avrutam. And ajnana is in the form of raga, dvesha, moha, etc. At the Vyavaharika level, that is what is happening. But at the Paramarthika level, Atman always remains as the Chit, Satchitananda, pure self-illuminous consciousness, which is identical with the knowledge, Prajnanam Brahma. And Avidya, at the Paramarthika level, it is not there. But the moment the identification with the sense organs and the body and the antakarana happens, the jiva gets projected, the individuality, and then the vyavahara starts. So the Paramarthika level is non-transactional, and even at that level, jnanam is remaining pure as jnanam, or the nature of Atman itself. Atman and jnanam are not two different things. The knowledge or the consciousness itself is Atman. And when it is identifying the knowledge which is the nature of Atman, when it is seen as the created jiva, it starts identifying itself with the jiva. That is what is called the avrutam, or the covering, or the avarana sakshi. And once it happens, the moha, muhyandi, the moha and muhyandi is the action of moha. When moha is in functioning, it is called muhyandi or mohita bhavanti. And this ajnana is the reason why the moha, ajnana's nature is moha, and when it is functioning, it is called muhyanti. Therefore, the ajnana, when in motion, is the delusion. In the Atman's level, it is akarta, non-doer. But the jiva, jantavaha or jiva in singular, jantavaha is a plural. It thinks I am the doer. Since Atma has no kartrutva, bhoktrutva, it doesn't receive papa. Whereas the jiva thinks, by actions I am accumulating sin and merit, punya and papa. Atma knows that it is the swabhava of Atman itself. There is other than Atma, there is nothing second. There is no second. Sa ekaha, sa ekam vit, ekameva dvitiyam brahma. Even the jiva is Brahma. But when the jiva thinks that I am separate from the Atma or Brahman, he doesn't know that. That is why the non-apprehension that I am Atma or Brahman, the jiva assumes the individuality. That individuality nature is the reason why the feeling that I am a jiva accumulating the sin and the merit and demerit, etc. So this aspect of individuals who is disconnected from the true nature of Atma is the beginning of all problems. Therefore, the only solution of the individual life is to know the reality, the Atma Tattva. That is the eternal freedom, Nitya Mukti. And there's a logical necessity rather than a hoped achievement by action. At the body level, it thinks kurvan karyan, etc. But Krishna has taught dehi na kurvan na karyan naste. And Prabhu na srijati kartrutvam karmani samyogam. Atma is not creating doership actions of karma. But at the body level, we think that there is doership and actions and the karmic nexus of punya and papa. At the Atma level, nap adatte papam sugrutam. It is not receiving any sin or merit. And the thought that there is sin and merit is sprung upon on the non-apprehension of the reality. There is neither papa nor punya in reality. But when you think that you are limited, individual, created, and living at the Vyavaharika level, identifying with the individuality of the ego, therefore the actions becomes real. The consequences of actions as merit and demerit becomes real, and that becomes the bondage of a karma, samsara. And the Bhashya is very simple. I'm not going to read the Bhashya from now onwards. It is being covered in the explanation. So word by word, I don't want to read and explain the Bhashya. We need to concentrate more on the summary or in the main aspect of the Bhashya, which is being covered by explanation. Therefore, Krishna says, Jnanena tu tad ajnanam yesham nasidam atmanaha. Tesham adityavat jnanam prakasyati tatparam. The 16th verse. Jnanena tu yesham nasitam tad atmanaha ajnanam nasitam bhavati. When the Jandavaha mohita bhavanti, deluded by the Ajnanam, Jnana is the antidote for it. Of those who that governing pertaining to the Atman gets destroyed, like what is Tesham Jnanam Adityavat Tat Param Prakashayati. Like the sun illuminates that supreme. That is the nature of the Atma. This is the counterpoint of the 15th, where it's Ajnanena Avritam is being referred here in this verse. Jnana destroys Ajnana. Like the darkness is dispelled by the sun. So Jnanena, by knowledge or through Jnana, as the instrumental thing, specifies that Jnana as the operative cause for Ajnana's destruction. Here is where the lot of arguments takes place in the Bhashyas and the commentaries which are following. If Jnana can destroy Ajnana, how can Ajnana cover the Jnana? Jnana as the operative cause for Ajnana's destruction. But at the same time, the same Ajnana is covering the Ajnana, then becomes deluded. This is where Shankaracharya's Kevala Jnana Moksha Siddhanta started in a grammatical form. Jnana alone, Kevala Jnana, not karma, upasana or any combination, is the direct means of Ajnana Nasha. Because the upasana or a combination of karma and upasana all are stemming from identification that I am the Jantu, Jiva, not the Atma. So what is Jnana? Shankaracharya identifies it as a Brahma Atma Aikya Jnana. That is the truth Jnana. The direct and immediate recognition of the identity of the individual Atman with Brahman. Arising through Shravana Manana Nididhyasana on Mahavakyas. And this is not the Paroksha Jnana, the immediate knowledge through the inference and testimony alone. Or Karma Jnana, knowledge combined with action. Or Upasana Jnana, the meditative knowledge which is qualified in the Yoga Sutras as a qualified Brahman, conditional Brahman. Brahman is not conditional, but Aparoksha Anubhava, Pratyak Jnana, the immediate, non-mediated recognition of Tattvamasi, or the Sakshin recognizing itself as Brahman. Krishna has used the word tu there. Tu is a indeclinable. However, is the turning point of the prakarana changing from the kartrutva bhoktrutva to the jnana. By ending the word tena muhyanti jandava, the jiva is deluded by ignorance. But, however, for those whose ignorance have been destroyed by jnana, is a pivot from bondage to freedom, from moha to prakasha. from ignorance to knowledge, ajnana to jnana. Tat ajnanam, that ignorance which is the cause for the moha, which was mentioned, ajnanena avrutam jnanam earlier. The ignorance that veiled jnana, the same ignorance that is destroyed. So, which jnana was covered? That is where the important lies. Here the ajnana becomes nashitam or destroyed by the very jnana it had veiled. The veiler destroyed by the veil, avidya. It is that the smoke covered the fire. So the light was not seen. But the moment the light becomes a true light, the smoke vanishes. The brilliance and the light dispels the smoke which was covering it till then. So, yesham nashitam, that which was causing the fire has been caused to perish now. Nashitam means perish. So the destruction, it is not a suppression. The fire which was the brilliance of the light of the fire, which was covered by the smoke, becomes weakened and then totally eliminated. Nashitam, nirvurtam. That is when the fire was there, present. But when the moha, raga, dvesha, everything was there in the intellect, the jnana could not remove the ignorance. When we understand that we are not victims of raga and dvesha, which were the highway thieves, which was taking away our progress through Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, hijacking it. When that was identified and known, the same delusion which was hijacking our process of Shravana Manana Nididhyasana gets destroyed, nashita bhavanti. That ajnana, which is in the form of raga, dvesha, etc., which was prohibiting the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, because it was taking us away from the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. That Bhadaga Jnana. The Jnana was getting affected by the Raga Dvesha. But the Atma was untouched even when it was being present there due to the Raga Dvesha. Our identification, the individual's identification with the Andakarana, with the inner instrument, where the Atma is present, but was not shining due to the veiling of the Raga Dvesha. Because the individual was identifying with the raga and dvesha. Even though Atma Jnana was present, the ignorance of the nature of the Atma Jnana, becomes the adhyasa, by which the Atman was mistaken by the individual as the body, mind, or antakarana, the Atma Abhimana of the identification of the individuality, became the karta and the bhokta, and the raga dvesha controlled the karta and the bhokta, the doership and the enjoyership. It is this ajnana which becomes the destruction of the individual towards moksha, or toward the freedom. So, tesham adityavat. Tesham means the identification with the raga, dvesha, etc. Like the sun removes the fog, which obstructs the visibility, or the fire which removed the smoke which was covering it. Adityavat, here the example is given, is like the sun, simile. The physical sun is now not seen in the thick fog, or the fog becomes the obstruction, objects the illumination power of the sun. As the fog diminishes at the same power of the sun, the more we identify toward the Atman from the body and the mind, the Atman becomes powerful and illuminates the ignorance. Same way, the jnana that I am the Atman, of the jnana of the Atman itself, is what we are identifying at the antakarana level. The raga and dvesha which were holding us becomes shitalikarana, or becomes nullified by the process of identification with the Atman. Therefore, jnana illumines by its own light, the Swayam Prakasha. Therefore, it needs no other knowledge to know itself. The more we identify with jnana, the jnana illumines immediately as aparoksha, not consequently through inference. In the jnana's light, Tat Param, Brahman, becomes directly visible, Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma. The deepest meaning is Atman itself is the sun. The jnanam here is not merely an instrument of illumination, but Atman as Chit, self-conscious, the self-illuminous self-consciousness, which is both the knower and the light by which the knowing occurs. The sun simile points to the Swayam Prakasha, Swayam Jyoti, the self-luminosity of the Atman, as the ultimate ground of all knowing. In the Brihadaranya Upanishad 4.3.6, one of the Shankara's most frequently cited passage, Adityas Chandrama Vidyut etesham devatanam sarvasanam atmaiva jyotihi. The sun, the moon, the fire, the lightning. For this Purusha, the Atma alone is the light. In the 5/16th, this verse, the Upama or the sun echoes the Upanishadic teaching, the sun simile towards the ultimate Atman is the original light. The physical sun is only a reflection. Why Aditya specifically, not Chandrama or Agni? Why not the Chandrama? Because the sun is the self-luminous, Swayam Prakasha. Unlike the moon which reflects, or unlike the fire which requires a fuel, the sun illumines everything simultaneously. Sarva Prakasha. Jnana illumines all reality at once in a single recognition. Sun's light cannot exist with darkness. Whereas the sun is fully present, the darkness is impossible. Where aparoksha jnana is fully present, ajnana is impossible. Therefore, the jnanam is the object of veiled by ajnana, ajnanena avrutam. That destroyer of ajnana is the same jnana. Jnanena nashitam bhavati. The subject of illumination, the illuminat tat param jnanam prakashayati. So the ajnana covers in the 15th verse the jnana liberation. Ajnana is the destroying by ajnana. Is illuminating or self tatparam in the 16th second verse, second line. So from the movement, from the veiled avrutam to the liberating luminings is the securological arc of Atma-jnana. The same Atman, Atmanas Chit, that was apparently veiled now operates as the destroyer of its own veil. And then shines the illuminer Brahman, the subject, the instrument, the light, one and the same, Chid Matroha, Sadashivaha, the pure consciousness. That is the simultaneously the knower and the known and the act of knowing in the Brahma Sakshatkara. That is what is shown by the word Prakashayati. The Jnana Prakashayati Tatparam does not mean that Jnana illumines Brahman as an external object, as the sun illumines the pot. It means that Jnana, which is the nature of Atman or Atma Swarupa, as Chit, removes the veiling that obstructed the recognition of Brahman, and in that removal, Brahman self-luminously manifests itself through the now present Antakarana. The illumination of Brahman recognition itself through the purified instrument of Jnana. This is the non-dual structure of Brahma Sakshatkara. There is no separate knower who knows Brahman as a known object. The Jnana that illumines Brahman is Tatparam, is that it is illumined as Brahman. The illumination itself is Brahman. Ekameva Advitiyam. That supreme, Tatparam. So at the primary reading of Shankaracharya's Bhashya is that the absolute non-dual Nirguna Brahman, Tat, from which Tattvamasi. The secondary reading is Paramatman, the Supreme Self, as the ground of Dehi, Vibhu, Prabhu, etc., which has been given between verses 13 to 15. The Tat is the Vibhu or the Prabhu, which is there in the verses 15 and 14. So it is the Brahman itself appearing through the Upadhi, to the body as a city, apparent Jiva, while remaining in its own nature as absolute, transcendent and self-luminous Brahman, as the Param, supreme and beyond, indicate that the Jnana illumines and is not an object within the field of ordinary knowledge of Aparavidya, but the absolute that transcends all subject-object duality, the Paravidya's object, the Brahman of the Upanishads. The illumination of Tat Param by Jnana is thus the self-recognition of Brahman. The moment when the Jiva, through the Jnana that destroys Ajnana, recognizes that I am Tat, Aham Brahmasmi. I am always that. So this verse is a statement of realization. Therefore, the logical chain is Ajnana is the sole cause for samsara. Jnana is the sole destroyer of Ajnana. The destruction of Ajnana reveals Tat Param, that Param Atma. Therefore, Jnana removes the Ajnana and Tat Param Prakasha, Moksha, is the result. Jnana alone is the Sakshat Sadhana for Moksha. Shankaracharya mentions the Samuchaya, anti-Samuchaya position that ground the causal analysis of 15 and 16, where Ajnana is the cause for the identification with the body, mind and intellect. Jnana is the only thing that can remove it. Karma, which is being the part of the body-mind complex, keeps the enabler in the action of the ignorance, and that cannot be destroyed by the karma. Only Jnana can do that. Krishna's this verse is also explaining the same thing. So the example of the sun here, epistemologically, the sun makes objects visible that were present and unseen in the darkness. Jnana makes Brahman recognizable. Brahman was always present, Nitya Siddhaha, but unrecognized due to Ajnana Avarana. The sun does not create the objects, it reveals them. Same way, Jnana does not create Brahman. It reveals Brahman that was always already present in one's own nature. At the level 2, ontologically, sun is one yet illumines all objects without becoming any one of them, remaining in the swarupa of the own nature of light, pure light. Same way, Jnana Atman, Atman Swarupa is Jnana, is the one, Ekameva Dvitiya, yet appears to illumine the multiplicity of the world without becoming any object in the multiplicity. The Jnana Swarupa of one Brahman appearing as the principle, illumining principle in the Jiva's recognition. At the Advaitic level, it is the Swayam Jyoti. The sun does not need another light to illumine itself. He is the Swayam Prakasha of the self-luminous. Same way the Atma Jnana is self-luminous. It does not need another Jnana to know the Atma. Jnatru, Jnana, Jnaya, all the Triputis, the knower, known and the knowing. The Triputi collapses in the self-luminosity. This is the Brihadaranyaka teaching. Natatra suryo bhadina chandratarakam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. The sun does not shine there, nor does the moon or the stars. By its light, all this is shines. The same thing is in the Mundaka Upanishad also, 2.2.10. The Aditya of the Upama is the self-reflection of the Jnana of Atman, self-luminosity. Atman is greater light than the sun. Sun is an external manifestation. So in the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, Chandogya, the Tat, the same demonstrative pointing towards Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi in the Brihadaranya is the Param, Brahman, recognized as one's own Aham. Prajnanam Brahma in the Aitareya Upanishad, that Jnanam, Prajnanam. Tat Param is the Supreme Self. Ayamatma Brahma Mandukya, Mahavakya, is the Dehi Vibhu Prabhu of 13 to 15, which is the Tat Param Brahman. So Jnanam Tat Param Prakashayati. Knowledge illumines the Supreme. When read in the deepest level is the statement that Atman is, as Jnana, recognizes itself as Brahman, as the knower of Brahman, known by Brahman, as Brahman, act of knowing, using as the capacity of Brahman. So Aparoksha Sakshatkara. And Atma cannot be, and it cannot be wielded by its own nature. Through Ajnana though Ajnana may conceal the recognition, as the sun is not actually darkened by the clouds, only apparently hidden from below. When Ajnana is destroyed, Nashitam, recognition, the Sakshi Tatparam Brahman dawns itself. Tesham Adityavat Jnanam Tat Param Prakashayati. Like the sun, Jnana illumines that Param, which is the Sakshi in recognizing itself. Ebhyo Vilakshana Sakshi Chinmatroham Sadashiva. That Atma is. Therefore, the Ajnanena Avratam Jnanam, Jnanena Nashidam Ajnanam, the veil is getting destroyed. The sun of Jnana rises, Ajnana of the night dissolves. That is the own Atman, is what is capable of removing the ignorance. So our ignorance can be removed only when we realize our own Atman as the Swarupa. Jnanena tu yena ajnanena avrata muhyanti jantavaha tat ajnanam yesham jandunam viveka jnanena atmat vishayena nashidam atmanaha bhavati. Tesham tu jandunam adityavat yata aditya samastam rupa jnatam avabhasayati tadvat jnanam neyam vastu sarvam prakashayati tatparam paramartha tattva. That is the Bhashya also saying the same language, what was explained. We will take the 17th verse where we will discuss it. Tat param jnanam prakashet. It is continuing the jnana synthesis again. in the next verse, also 17th verse, which we will do it tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Bindoji. I've opened the chat and hand raising. I think Jessie has a hand up. I don't know if it was an accident, but I'm going to call her up.
No, Jessie raised her hand in between
Yes.
while the class was going on.
Venkatji.
Namaste, Venkat.
I think these two verses worth the contemplation. The way I was organizing it, Bindoji, the Gnanam covering Agnanam is at the level of the mind.
Yes.
And this means it gives two possibilities. One is, Gnanam is there and Agnanam is covering it. Number one. Number two is, Gnanam is simply, beyond the mind. And Agnanam seem to cover it. These are the two possibilities. If that knocking off of Gnanam, what shines forth is simply beyond the mind, because it's just a reflection that with the self shining, that Swarupa is simply reflected in the mind, is simply by removing that with Aikya Gnanam, there is a space made, hence the Gnanam shines in the mind. Swarupa is shining in the mind. So it is not the Gnanam, Agnanam covering the Gnanam. Agnanam seems to cover the Gnanam.
That's right.
So that is the first one.
Ajnanam seems to cover the Jnanam. That is why, if you remember my earlier verses, first verse is that, Paranchigani Vedanat Swayambhu Tasmat Parang Pasyatina Antaratma. That verse of Kathopanishad, the sense organs are looking outward, means including the Antakarana, is looking externally for the reality. But when Pratibodha Viditam Matam Amrtatvam Hi Vindate, in every experience, we are deluded by the content of the knowing, by the apparent objectification as objects with qualification and likes and dislikes. That is what is called the Raga and Dvesha, which is covering the knowledge. But in the Raga and Dvesha knowing, if we can see the Pratibodha Viditam, even the Raga and Dvesha is known as, in the light of knowledge. That is why the Avrita Chakshu Amrtatvam Ichat, Pratyagatmanam Ichat. In that, when we process that knowing, what we will understand is that it was all the time, it was known, but we were getting deluded by the Raga and Dvesha. Therefore, the objects of the material or the content of knowing deluded the knowledge. And the knowledge was always present there, even when the Raga and Dvesha was happening. The Raga and Dvesha was happening in the knowledge. And we were deluded by the Raga and Dvesha as the contents of the knowledge. Only when the pratibodha viditam, when we know that in every bodham, the knowing is the principle and the raga dveshas are not reality, they are unreal. That happens, the knowledge shines by itself. Tasya vasa sarvamidam vivadi. In that knowledge, all these things appearing to be happening. That is why Adityavat, like the sun, is illumining everything. Even if we look at everything that is getting seen by us, what we are seeing is sunlight, in which the objects appear to be illumined. What object we are seeing, we are not seeing the object, we are seeing getting the sunlight into our senses. The objects are merely being present there. That is getting illumined by the sunlight. And what we are seeing is the sunlight, not the object. The object is only reflecting the sunlight. The moon is reflecting the sunlight, so the moon is seen. The moon by itself cannot be seen unless if there is sunlight. Same way, our experiences cannot be known unless Atma is shining. So what is our nature is that we are the Jnanam, the Atma which is shining all the time. The objects of knowing where we develop Raga and Dvesha is due to that ignorance, Ajnanam. That is what is covering the Jnanam. It is not covering the Jnanam. It is deluding Muhyandi Jandavaha. Tena Muhyandi Jandavaha. That is what is where the Ajnanam is also Jnanam only. But it is not seen as Jnanam because of the Moha, the Raga and Dvesha. It needs lot of manana and nididhyasana on these words, both these verses. But then only that Atma can be understood. Param Tattva. Like the Adityavat. Like the sun, the Atma is the sun. Which we have studied when we studied that mantra. Na tattar suryo bhadina chandra tarakam nema vidyito bhanti kutoya magdi. Tameva bandham anavadi sarvam tasya vasa tarvam idam vivadi.
Yes, Mendoji, that light of knowledge now come alive. And this light of knowledge, it shines even the delusion. As you said, even delusion is also knowledge.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
When we say, I don't know, we are having the knowledge of ignorance, of not knowing. Even that is in the knowledge only that is happening.
I think then there is no boundary to the knowledge because it
There is
shines
no
forth.
boundary. That is why Sarvagataha. Knowledge is Sarvagata.
That gunatraya, that all that is in that only.
In that only, yes. Those who go through the intricacies are deluding themselves in the knowledge.
So that is why it is called light of knowledge. Okay.
Yes.
Atma Jyoti. Okay.
Atma Jyoti. Andar Jyoti. Atma
Atma
Jyoti.
Jyoti. Got it, Manoj. This solves a lot actually.
Thank you, Venkat.
Thank you, Manoj.
Because then we'll meet tomorrow, same time. Continue.
So we'll continue tomorrow. So thanks everyone for coming. As always, Bendoji recommends Ravana Manana. So if we do the Ravana Manana, then we'll have the continuity. The replays are available. You can access them in Clubhouse. But if with a slight delay, you'll see the same thing on YouTube and other channels. As always, thank you everyone for coming, and thanks very much, Bendoji. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash, Artemisha, and Venkat for being there in the panel. And thank you all for listening. And those who are listening later from either from the Clubhouse or through YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, thank you for following this lecture series. And we'll continue the 17th verse on tomorrow morning, that is Wednesday morning, Indian time, 6:30 a.m. According to your local time. You can join the Clubhouse or listen to the recordings. Thank you all. Hari Om. Namaste.
Have a good day.
Good day.